theology. He held positions of responsibility in the Catholic Church. Hindi ko na po babanggitin, medyo napakarami po ng kanyang mga tungkulin. From Auxiliary Bishop of San Fernando, Pampanga, he was appointed by Pope Francis as Bishop of Caloocan, and so continued his mission of justice and truth in one of the poorest Catholic communities in our country. Tungkulin ko po bilang munting obispo ang pag-ingatan ang kawan na pinagkatiwala sa akin ng Panginoon. Yun po ang sabi ni Bishop. In one of his interviews, accused of illegal drug use, he good-naturedly said, "Thank God, I am not even taking any maintenance drugs yet. I only take vitamins with fruit shake blended with malunggay in the morning. You may want to try it. It will do you a lot of good. God bless you." At inihikayat po niya na ipagdasal natin ang mga nagpaparatang sa Kanya. He goes into the dark alleys of Caloocan at night to bring mercy, compassion, and solace to the families of young men and women killed in the war on drugs. Walang takot para sa sarili dahil sa isinasabuhay niya ang kanyang pagkapari, isang pastol sa yapak ng ating Panginoong Hesukristo. His motto as bishop is kenosis, emptying of self so that Christ can live in us. He witnesses to the gospel, totally aware of his priesthood. He represents the real shepherd, our Lord Jesus Christ. Mindful that the light at the sanctuary means Jesus is present in the tabernacle, he has kept it on, and his church has become a sanctuary for his flock. Tonight, may the seeds Bishop Ambo sow in our hearts and minds take root and grow to bring about the desire for truth, for a life faithful to Christ. Brothers and sisters, it is my great pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to introduce our Advent Recollection speaker, Most Reverend Bishop Pablo Virgilio S. David, D.D.
Hello. Yeah, thank you. Maraming salamat, Maki, for that beautiful introduction. I'm humbled by your words. Hindi po ako inimbitahan ngayong gabi para magbahagi tungkol sa aking karanasan sa Diocese of Caloocan. You invited me this evening to share some thoughts on the topic which I reformulated a little bit. Kaya humingi muna ako ng paalam sa ating members ng ating Ministry on Formation sa parokya dahil originally ang topic was embracing youthfulness, living the faith, and remaining faithful to Christ. Well, tinanong ko kung ano ang background dun sa topic, and of course, as usual, you know, kasi this is now a very much sought after topic because the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines declared this year as the year of the youth. And you know that in the liturgical calendar of the church, ang bagong taon ho natin ay hindi naman January 1. Ang bagong taon ng Simbahang Katolika ay the first Sunday of Advent. Pumasok na tayo sa isang new year, new liturgical year. And as soon as we started a new liturgical year, we closed the former liturgical year with Christ the King celebration. And you know that the CBCP is preparing for 2021, di po ba? 500 years of Christianity. Last year, the theme was the year of the clergy and consecrated persons. And this year, the focus is on young people, mga kabataan. Kaya, I took the liberty of reformulating the topic a little bit. Instead of directly talking about embracing youthfulness, I prefaced it with accompanying our young people to embrace youthfulness, to live the faith, and to remain faithful to Christ. Would that be okay? Okay lang po ba? Thank you. Salamat, no? So that means I am addressing in particular the adults among you. No. Kasi I understand na nandito rin ang mga kabataan natin. Ayun, no? May mga kabataan doon. So, this is about the youth, but I am not addressing it directly to them. I'm addressing it to those who are tasked to accompany young people. And that means all of us. All of us. So we accompany young people about three things. One, to teach them to embrace their youthfulness. Two, to teach them to live the Christian faith. And then three, to teach them to remain faithful to Jesus Christ. There are the 3 points. I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then I will proceed to point number 1, accompanying young people to embrace youthfulness. And then point number 2, accompanying young people to live the faith. And point number 3, accompanying young people to remain faithful to Christ. Okay na po ba? That's the structure of this evening's reflection. Ayos lang tayo? Is that okay? Thank you. Very good. So now, we proceed immediately with the first part. A little bit of introduction about accompanying our young people. Nabanggit ko na sa inyo, it's the year of the youth. And this year, the CBCP invites all the parishes in all the dioceses in this country to put our young people in the center of the life of the church, to give them due attention. Never exclude young people. Never exclude them from the church. If you want to have, or if you want the church to have a future. This was the mistake at some point of many people in European countries. At some point, they began to reason out and say, oh, young people, they're still too young to enter the church. Let them decide for themselves when they're already in the right age. It sounds naman very reasonable, di ba? When you come to think of it. Because maybe some adults at some point began to react to the idea of forcing religion on young people. So, the extreme reaction was, well, wag nating pwersahin ng relihiyon sa mga bata. Leave them free, you know. And when they're already old enough, let them decide for themselves if they do not want to go to church. And, of course, when that time comes, they have been so alienated from the church is not even in their worldview anymore. And now, in most countries in Europe, you have big, big cathedrals that are empty during Sunday. Gusto niyo bang mangyari na dumating ang panahon na dito sa Pentecost Parish, puro na lang senior citizens ang magsisimba? When that time comes, wala nang future ang parokya nyo. If you don't have a vibrant youth ministry in this parish, woe to you. Then you have no future as a parish. When faith becomes for adults only. You know, sometimes some priests are a little bit grouchy when they celebrate Mass and they see young people and they get a bit noisy or unruly, or they get distracted. Kung minsan pagagalitan yung parents, no? Ganon. Sayang. Sayang when we do that. It's like our message is, get those kids out of here. They have no place in the church. Istorbo lang sila. Then that means religion or the faith is for adults only. And you know what people do, or what kind of activities are usually reserved for adults only. Almost always when an activity is called for adults only, you know, it's about adults doing something na medyo hindi kaaya-aya, no? The presence of children, the presence of young people in our midst is very, very important. Of course, we have to nurture the spirit. We have to nurture our children in such a way that they're oriented to the Christian faith without necessarily forcing the faith on them, because they will grow up anyway. They will think for themselves. Mamaya may babasahin ako sa inyo na I'm going to share a little reflection that I shared to the Psychiatric Association of the Philippines. A few months ago, naimbitahan ako ng Psychiatric Association of the Philippines to share thoughts on the topic, losing religion. Losing religion, addressing agnosticism and atheism in young people. So I'm going to share that to you later as I enter into the first topic. But, so the context is, in this year of the youth, we're being invited to put young people in the center of the life of the church, not to exclude them, because the church will have no future the moment she excludes young people. It is important to find where they are, to know where they're coming from, what they are struggling with, and what they're dreaming about. Are you familiar with that? Finding Nemo? Napanood nyo na po ba yung pelikulang Finding Nemo? Oh, maganda yan. One of my favorites. May sequel pa yan, Finding Dory. Pero, did you know that Finding Nemo is inspired by a biblical passage? The finding of Jesus in the Temple of Jerusalem. More or less, pareho yung theme. When young people get lost, you look for them. Sometimes they are with you, and then you realize they're no longer with you. They're lost. And then you look for them, and then you find them. And when you find them, there are things you don't understand about what they're talking about. Kung minsan may gap between the parents and their children. And then the challenge is for the children to understand where their children are coming from. Usually, the growth process teaches not just the children to mature, but the parents also to mature in their task of parenting. So, Finding Nemo, Finding Jesus in the temple. Oh, I'm sure you are all familiar. Sigurado naman ako narinig nyo na yung kwento, di ba? The story is about the family of Jesus attending the Passover festival. Ang Passover ay malaking piyesta, a big festival in Jerusalem. They are coming from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth. And that's a long, long journey. And whenever they go to Judea, kanino sila makikitira? Tell me. I am sure you should know. They are not from the province of Judea. They come from the province of Galilee. They come from the town of Nazareth in Galilee. Baryotic sila. Taga-baryo. And I am sure excited si Jesus to come to the big city. And the big city was Jerusalem. Jerusalem was part of a province. And the province is Judea. Now, whenever they went to Judea, I'm sure they could not afford hotels. Remember, that's why he was born in a stable. Whenever they went to Judea, where do you think they stayed? With relatives. Tell me, which relative? Good, Elizabeth. Do you remember Mama Mary, the Visitation? Oh, she was excited when she got the news from the angel about her mission. She ran to her cousin in Judea, Elizabeth. That means Mary was used to visiting her cousin. She seemed to have been very close to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth was married. Married to whom? Very good, Zechariah. And what was the occupation of Zechariah? He was a priest, a temple priest. He belonged to the Levitical priesthood. And we hear the story, especially during Simbang Gabi, hindi ba? I hope you look forward to our episode sa Men of Light. We have a weekly talk show on the Sunday Gospel. You can download it. We are on Facebook. Type nyo lang sa search engine, Men of Light, to be able to get our most recent episode. Tinape na namin yung episode for this coming Holy Family. Advance na yung taping namin. And ang pamagat ng aming episode sa Holy Family Sunday ay Finding Jesus. Precisely this topic, no? Finding Jesus. And there in that particular episode, meron kaming Bible study part. In the Bible study part, I mentioned that scholars call the years in the life of Jesus between the age of 12 and the age of 30 the hidden life of Jesus. In the Gospels, we hear a lot about the public ministry of Jesus, which lasted only for 3 years, from the age of 30 to the age of 33. We hear also about the birth of Jesus, the infancy of Jesus, the boyhood of Jesus until the age of 12. That is the finding in the temple. Pero wala na tayong alam tungkol kay Jesus from the age of 13 to the age of 29. Yun ang tinatawag nila na the hidden life of Jesus. Well, this evening, I'm going to teach you a little bit of a technique on how to reconstruct the hidden life of Jesus. If you know how to use your imagination, at sino bang walang imagination dito? Kung wala kayong imagination, umuwi na kayo. Because you will not appreciate the scriptures without imagination. I used to offer a course at the Loyola School of Theology. I call it a Biblical Hermeneutical Course. At ang title ng course ko ay Reading Between the Lines of the Scriptures. The Role of Imagination in Biblical Interpretation. You cannot interpret the Scriptures properly without imagination. So, if you know how to use your imagination, you can more or less fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks or the gaps in the stories of the gospel. The gospel writers tell a story, pero maraming gaps in between. And to be able to reconstruct the gaps or fill in the gaps, you have to use your imagination. All you need to do is to ask relevant questions. And before reading between the lines, you have to take the lines very seriously. Because what will guide you into reading between the lines are the lines themselves. Kasi if you read between the lines and you did not take the lines seriously, baka fantastic reading lang yan. It is the lines themselves that will guide you into reconstructing the gaps in between. Okay, relevant question. Ito, tinanong na to sa akin in a Bible study. Bishop, bakit masyadong maalam si Jesus tungkol sa Bible? Why did Jesus know so much about the sacred scriptures if he was just the son of a carpenter? And remember, they were poor. According to the story of St. Luke, when they made the presentation in the temple, they offered not a calf. Kung mayaman, a calf. Kung middle class, maybe a goat or a lamb. Pero kung dukha, kung mahirap, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. What did they offer? A pair of turtle doves. That means lower class sila. Eh malinaw naman nung time na yon, yung maka-afford ng medyo mataas-taas na level of education was not for everybody. So ang tanong nila, how come Jesus was so learned in the scriptures? I remember when somebody asked me that question, somebody else answered it immediately. You know, sabi niya, paano siyang hindi marunong sa scriptures? Son of God siya, son of God. Sabi ko, oh, wait a minute. Masyado ka namang nagja-jump into the supernatural. Do not forget, he is son of God, but he's incarnate. A human being like us. He had to learn like a human being. He had to grow up like a human being. So, paano siya natuto about the scriptures? Is all of this miraculous? No, come on. If I read between the lines, this is what I would think, no? Mama Mary is close to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth was the first person she thought about, you know, when she got the mission from the angel Gabriel. I am sure those visits were frequent. Mary visiting Elizabeth, and Elizabeth also visiting Mary in Nazareth. And I have a feeling that these two families were very close to each other. Si Uncle Zechariah was a priest of the temple, and the priests of the temple were very highly literate on the sacred scriptures. The priest Zechariah raised a son, John the Baptist. And I am sure he wanted this son to become a priest like him. Ganyan naman ang Levitical priesthood. It was hereditary. But John the Baptist did not follow the footsteps of Zechariah. He did not become a priest. He became a prophet. A prophet, not a priest. Remember, John the Baptist, he was the figure of Advent. Remember that guy who spoke very strong words against the government? The guy who was threatened that sinabihan siyang, pupugutan ko ang ulo mo. Yeah. No allusions meant, no? Pinugutan talaga ang ulo niya, no? Yeah. I'm talking about Herod Antipas. Nakalaban niya, di ba? Si John the Baptist. Hindi hindi niya gusto ang takbo ng bibig ni John the Baptist. John the Baptist did not mince words because he proclaimed God's word. Ganyan yung prophet. They will not apologize because what they proclaim is not their personal word, but God's word. And they're not afraid of the consequences of proclaiming God's word. Well, anyway, back to Jesus and John the Baptist. So, use your imagination. From the time that they were little boys, I am sure Jesus was close to John the Baptist. I am sure they were playmates. Kasi months lang ang difference nila. Their parents were friends. I am sure John the Baptist looked forward to the family visit to Nazareth. And I am sure Jesus also looked forward to the family visit in Judea. Why? Because the capital of Judea is the big city of Jerusalem. Lahat ng mga baryotik gustong makita yung syudad. At yun na yung the big landmark in the city of Jerusalem. And since the father is a temple who works as a temple priest, he worked inside the temple, he knew every nook and cranny of the temple. And so probably whenever he entered the temple, by the age of 12, pwede na niyang ipasok si John the Baptist. At pagdating nung age 12, pati si Jesus pwede na niyang ipasok. That's why Jesus was so familiar with the temple. That's why Jesus could observe the widow's mite. That's why Jesus also saw the buying and selling of animals and money changers in the temple area. Siguro, whenever they visited the home of Zechariah and Elizabeth, sometimes Zechariah would talk about corruption in the temple. He probably say, because he was only a Levitical priest, and those were the assistants. The real powers in the temple were the Sadducees. People like Annas and Caiaphas, and they were very corrupt. They were pro-Romans. And maybe sometimes Zechariah, the old man, could not keep his feelings to himself about the political situation and the politicized priests of the temple. Maybe at table he would talk to Elizabeth and to Mary and say, those priests in the temple, they're so corrupt. He doesn't know that John the Baptist and Jesus are listening on the sides. Young people, adults, I remind you, your children listen to your conversations. They can either learn from you or be scandalized by you. And they're very impressionable. Their minds are opening up to the vastness of the world. They're beginning to ask questions. They're exploring their environment. You have to be there for them. So, the story of the finding of Jesus in the temple tells us about Jesus who started to enjoy his youthfulness. And like most young people, became so excited about exploring the world, exploring his environment. I am sure Uncle Zechariah, who was used to reading the scriptures, kasi when you read now the Bible, you think of one book. You don't realize that our Bible is a library. Ang swerte naman natin that all of these books have been put in one volume. In the time of Jesus, they had to be read one book at a time, one scroll at a time. And they didn't have the luxury of having personal copies. And so, probably, Uncle Zechariah would recite passages from the scriptures or even read in the presence of John the Baptist and Jesus on the side, teaching both his son and his nephew the scriptures. And here is Jesus, wide-eyed and very curious and very excited to hear the stories of the scriptures. absorbing everything like a dry sponge. The word is germinating in his heart. Kaya the connection with John the Baptist is very important. And you know, Kuya John the Baptist was like a role model to Jesus. If he were Filipino, he'd probably call him Kuya. Idol ni Jesus si John the Baptist. At nung tumanda siya, nung naging adult si John the Baptist, Zechariah got frustrated because hindi nagpari yung anak niya. Naging recluse. He withdrew into the desert. At sinundan siya ni Jesus sa desert. Kasi kuya niya eh. Idol, role model. He had so much respect. He had a great regard for Kuya John. He listened carefully to his words. But Jesus did not know that if he looked up at Kuya John looked up at him even more. Because one day we're told Jesus was walking and John the Baptist was with his disciples, and he pointed at Jesus and he said, "Behold, the Lamb of God. He is the Savior of Israel. He must increase, I must decrease. Believe kayo sa akin? Actually, mas believe ako sa Kanya. He's the one you're looking for." That is the role of John the Baptist. Ang ganda ng dynamics between Kuya John and Jesus. And now, this is the setting to understand the finding of Jesus. Like most young people, at some point in their life, they get lost. Sino bang magulang ang hindi naaburido kung minsan sa mga anak nila? Lalo na kapag nagkakaisip na yung bata. Pag ang mga anak ninyo, mga bata pa sila, they obey you. Yes, mama, yes, papa. But at some point, they grow up. And I hope, kaya tanggapin, magkakaroon sila ng sariling isip. Alam nga namang 30 o 40 anyos na yung anak mo, wala pa rin siyang magawa kung hindi mo pag-utusan. It's not right. Then you did not make your child grow, di ba? What you really want is for your child to mature. And that starts very early in the life of young people. And in the life of Jesus, it started at the age of 12. They were in Jerusalem. They spent the whole week to celebrate the festival with Zechariah's family. At the end of the festival, they had to go back home. Kailangan na silang umuwi sa Nazareth. Ayun, sarap ng kwento ni Mama Mary, sarap ng kwento ni Joseph with the kamag-anaks on their way back to Nazareth. Biglang sabi ni Joseph, "Mary, nasaan ang anak mo?" And Mary said, "Joseph, kasama mo yung anak mo." Di ba kapag yung kuminsan, you know, the parents would, when they get defensive, di ba kasama mo yung anak mo? Kasama ka niya. Yeah. Eh, nandito lang siya kanina eh. And they looked around. My God, he was missing. Parents, kung ang anak ninyo kasama niyo sa mall, tapos biglang wala siya, kahit isang oras lang, I'm sure the experience would drive you crazy. I am sure you'd be so nervous. Di ba? You want to know how many days Jesus got lost? 3 days. 3 araw silang naghalughog kung saan-saan, hindi siya mahanap. At biglang naisip, siguro, ni Joseph, balikan nga kaya natin si Uncle Zechariah. At bumalik sila sa temple. At pagpasok nila doon, he was not just with Uncle Zechariah, he was with the elders there in the temple, and he was discussing the scriptures with them. And si Mama Mary, she was shocked. Kinonfront niya yung anak niya. Kayo, hindi niyo pa ba kinoconfront yung mga anak ninyo na pag nagiging pasaway? Ako nga, nangyari yun sa akin nung seminarista pa ako eh. Nag-apostolate ako noon kay Aposeto, Archbishop Aniceto. He was transferred to another parish. And I volunteered to help him na maghakot ng gamit. Ginabi na. Nung ginabi na, remember, it's vacation time. We were not in the seminary. I was actually on vacation at home in Betis in Pampanga with my parents. Ngayon, nagpaalam lang ako. Sabi ko, may pupuntahan lang ako. Pumunta ako kay Aposeto, Archbishop Aniceto. He was not an archbishop yet. He was a parish priest. And he was moving to another parish, and I volunteered to help. But I forgot the time. It was late in the evening already, and I decided to sleep over doon sa parish, not realizing that my parents had been looking for me. They looked for me all night. And then early in the morning, they found their way to the parish of Aposeto. I remember my mother saying, "Andiyan ka pala? Ba't hindi ka nagpaalam?" Ang sabi ko, "Si Ma naman, ang laki-laki ko na, hinahanap niyo pa ako." Ay nako, I remember yung sinabi ng tatay ko. Nang sabi niya sa akin, "Ambo, makinig ka." Pag nagagalit yung tatay ko, lumalaki din ang mata eh. Makinig ka. Yeah. Kung yung aso, kung yung pusa, pag nawala, hinahanap, ikaw pa? Bakit? Nagsabi ka ba? Tandaan mo, pag nasa bakasyon ka, nasa poder kita. Hindi kita hahanapin kung alam kong nasa seminaryo ka. Pero kapag nagbakasyon ka, nasa bahay ka, magpapaalam ka. Okay? Opo. The situation was like that with Jesus. Sabi ni Mama Mary, "Anak, why did you do that? Your father and I have been so anxious, looking for you everywhere. Andiyan ka lang pala. You didn't tell us." And you know, sumagot si Jesus. Yan ang masakit pa eh. Pag marunong na sumagot yung mga anak niyo. That's one typical difficulty with Filipino families. Filipino parents, pag sumasagot na yung mga anak, minsan sasabihin ng parents, "Oh, anong ginawa mo? Sumagot ka." Tapos sasagot yung bata, "Marunong ka na sumagot." Hindi ba malilito yung bata? Hindi niya alam kung saan siya lalagay. On the one hand, bawal sumagot. On the other hand, kailangan sumagot. You know, kaya gustong-gusto ko yung kanta ng Apo Hiking Society, yung ganyan talaga ang buhay. Sabi niya, lagi kang nasasabihan pagkat ikaw ay bata at wala pang nalalaman. When you are treated like musmus. And the boy Jesus is 12 years old. At that age, Jewish boys undergo the bar mitzvah, and they are publicly presented as in the right age already, the age of reason. And they feel like young men already. Kaya assertive na siya. Hindi na ako musmus. And so, he answers his mother. He says, "Why did you look for me? Did you not know that I had to be in my father's house?" And they did not understand what he was talking about. I'm sure When your own children get lost and they answer you, you also don't understand where they're coming from and what they're talking about. All parents have to understand their children. Because they will not grow up if they don't embrace their youthfulness. It's part of their growing process as young people for them to explore the world, to get to know their environment, to interact with other people, to read things, including things you don't want them to read. Lalo na ngayon, the age of internet. My God, they have access to anything. Mas mahirap nga ngayon eh. Halos wala ng control ang parents on the information that your children can access. All the more reason for you to guide them, to be there for them. And so, he came home to Nazareth with Joseph and Mary, and the boy Jesus grew. That's all. He grew up as a normal young man. Napagalitan din siya. I don't know, kung minsan kasi we have such a romantic image of Jesus na parang hindi makabasag pinggan, that he did not commit any misdemeanor at all. I don't believe that. I'm sure he was also somehow naughty. He was a normal human being. Tulad nun, di ba? That's a misdemeanor. Hindi ka nagpaalam sa parents mo. Babatukan kita dyan. I can imagine Joseph at the background. Siguro saying, Mary, pigilan mo ako. Umiinit ang ulo ko dyan sa batang yan. Sinasagot-sagot na tayo. Ano ba yung sinasabi niyang, did you not know I have to be in my father's house? Don't you think somehow napagalitan din si Jesus sometimes? Meron akong isang gustong-gustong image of Jesus, poster. And Jesus is a young boy crying like that. Crying, parang napagalitan siya. Parang Joseph, ginaganyan siya. That's wrong what you did. And he's crying, you know. I like that image. Very human. Our problem is, we don't appreciate so much the humanity of Jesus. Because we immediately proclaim the Son of God, the Messiah, you know. We forget that He became one like us in all things. Okay. I think with that we can proceed. No? Sir, what would it take? So, how do we accompany young people so that they are able to embrace their youthfulness? Two things. One, you must learn to journey with them and listen to them. Parents, I know you always tell your children, listen to us. And tama naman, children, you really must listen to your parents. But parents, do you also listen to them? Kung minsan meron silang ibig sabihin sa inyo. At malungkot kapag parating sasabihan yung bata, huwag kang sasabat-sabat sa usap ng matatanda, di ba? Well, actually, ang ibig lang sabihin nun, don't be disrespectful. Pwede kang sumabat, but respectfully. You can say, Ma, excuse me po. Ganon, no? Alam mo ba yung, this is very Pinoy, no? This is very Pinoy. And I have a friend from Belgium who noticed me doing it. Ang sabi niya sa akin, what does that mean when you pass between people who are talking and then you say, ano daw yung ibig sabihin nun? Sabi ko, it's an act of respect. We don't want to break the conversation of two people. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng huwag kang sasabat-sabat. Don't disrespect Pero it does not mean you cannot join the conversation. In families that do not allow children to join the conversation, your children will grow into stupid people. They will never grow. I tell you, bata pa lang kami, we were already taught to tell stories. We're a storytelling family, kaya maingay kami pag nagkita-kita kami sa pamilya. We just had dinner in my sister's place a while ago, you know. It's always something to look forward to kasi makwento kami lahat. Tapos yung tipo pa na kinuwento mo na, pauulit pa. No. I don't know, my parents probably really wanted their children to be articulate, to have confidence. So they allowed them even as young boys and girls to explain their side, to tell a story, to summarize what they learned in school. I did not immediately see the value of that. But my God, looking back, I realized, ang laking bagay pala when the elders listen to you telling a story. And I'm sure Mary and Joseph were the listening type. So journey with them and please listen to them. Allow them to be by themselves sometimes. You don't have to smother your children. They also need their space. Let them explore the world, search for life's meaning, ask their questions, express themselves creatively, discover their gifts, but give them the accompaniment that they need. Give them the mentoring that they need. Inspire them with edifying stories. Share your own struggles with them, the kind of things you struggled with in your own youth. Do not judge their whole generation as less worthy than your own. Ay nako, alam mo daw na talagang matanda ka na kapag sinabi mo, ang mga bata ngayon walang modo. Mabuti pa kami nung mga bata kami, magagalang kami. Ano nang nangyari sa mga kabataan ngayon? You just condemned all of them. If you want young people to ignore you totally, you treat them that way. The moment you say, buti pa nung bata kami, ang mga bata ngayon, ganito. They feel judged, condemned, disvalued, rejected, worthless. If you know what's good for you, don't ever treat your children or young people as worthless people. Because if you make them feel that they're worthless, oh my goodness, they will become insecure all the time. And they'll make up for that insecurity in many different ways. In ways that will be very, very unpleasant to you. Let them find their life's mission and purpose. So, una, journey with them, listen to them. Pangalawa, let them find their life's mission and purpose. Yes, at the start. Sa una, they will keep asking their parents what they will do with their lives. Do you know the song Que Sera Sera? Alam niyo ba yon? When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what shall I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? It all depends on me. Tapos ang refrain, Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. Meaning, let them dream their own dreams and own their own aspirations. Let them learn not just from you, but from others as well. From their teachers, from their friends, from their priests, from the world. Be there for them. Be there for them when they are afraid. Be there for them, especially when they are in crisis. But please do not overprotect them, because they have their own lives to live. Give them all the affirmation that they need, especially when they are not that confident with their lives yet. Well, that's it. Let them find their life's mission and purpose. At some point, when they ask you what they have to do with their lives, you no longer tell them. Lalo na kung nasa edad na sila. The most that you can say is, what will be, will be. Meaning, you're open to the future. I will accompany you, my child, but I do not know, honestly, what will be, will be. I'll be there for you. Oh, I am sure a lot of wonderful things will come out of our young people if only we can accompany them in embracing their youthfulness. And now we move to the second part. To accompany young people to live the faith. Accompany young people to live the faith. Nabanggit ko kanina, I wanted to share to you a little reflection that I shared to psychiatrists. Parang, ano to, no? I was invited by the Psychiatric Association of the Philippines several months ago on the topic, losing religion. Kasi now we're going into living the faith, accompanying young people in living the faith. Sometimes young people claim to lose the faith. How do you deal with them when they get distanced from your faith? So, ito yung aking speech to the psychiatrists of the Philippines. Sabi ko, thank you for inviting me to share thoughts on the topic, losing one's religion, agnosticism and atheism in the young people. Allow me to start by familiarizing you with the typical lines in a dialogue between a priest like myself and young persons, especially young professionals who declare that they have turned into agnostics or atheists. Minsan aabot yung kabataan dun sa edad na yon when they will distance from the church. I am sure many of you have experienced this. Yung mga anak ninyo, you say, Sunday, let's go together, let's go to Mass. Tapos bibihis na sila. Sasama sila. So, yung mga anak ninyo, dinala ninyo wala naman silang choice Di sumama sila. Bihis sila. And they go to Mass. And then they reach that age na gusto nang gumawa ng sariling lakad. They would say, Mama, anong oras ho kayo magsisimba? 8 o'clock. Kasi gusto kong magsimba kasama ng mga kabarkada ko ng alas 5 ng hapon. Okay lang ba? Gusto nang humiwalay. And then you say, hindi pwede. We always go together as one family. We go to Mass, you go to Mass. Same schedule. Buti nga, nagsisimba pa nga siya ng 5 p.m. Then, you have not learned to read what goes on in the heart of your child. Nangyari din yun sa akin nung ako'y seminarista pa, na batang-batang seminarista. Pag bakasyon ko na, gigisingin ako ng nanay ko. Sasabihin niyang, Ambo, mag-aalas 6 na, malapit na yung misa. Nung bata pa ako, gising naman ako, magsusuta na ako, lalakad kami ni nanay, nakakakbay pa siyang ganyan. At ako naman, medyo teenager na, parang embarrassed ako. Na parang, laki-laki ko na, mama, sorry pa ako. Parents don't realize that at the start. Came to a point, nagigisingin sa niya, Ambo, lasing na. Sasagot ako, inaantok pa ako eh. Magsisimba na lang ako mamaya. And I could sense nagdadabog si nanay. Tapos magbibihis na siya. At least, i-respect niya, ayoko sumama. Tapos pag nakaalis na siya, biglang magbibihis ako, tatakbo ako, and then I'll be serving the priest doon sa simbahan. And she'd be looking, and she'd be beaming. And she realizes, ayaw ko lang sumabay sa kanya. Meaning, the message is, Nay, malaki na ako. Huwag mo na akong hahawakan sa kalsada na para naman akong baby mo. Hindi naman ako nagpapari para sa'yo. Yung ganun ba? That's the adolescent stage. Parang, respect mo naman ito'y, I want to do it my way, not your way. Yung dynamics na yon between parents and their children, mahirap yan. Lalo na pag nagtampo pa yung magulang. Biglang magre-resent pa yung nanay. Sabi niyang, my son no longer loves me. Yung ganung tipo na magdadrama-drama pa. It's not about that. Please, just respect that I'm growing up. I want to assert my individuality as well. Napaka-importante nun sa growing process, no? Now, ang sabi ko dito sa mga psychiatrist, maraming beses ko naranasan, saan ko nilagay yung salamin ko? Ito, tumatanda na ang Bishop Ambo. So, sabi ko, kung minsan, may mga parents, ipapa-counseling nila yung anak nila sa pare. At usually, ang sumbong nila, Father, Bishop, kausapin mo nga yung matigas na ulong anak ko, ayaw na magsimba. He might go to hell. Mga ganun tipo. So, ang sabi ko, very often, it is the devout Catholic parents who persuade their children to make an appointment with a priest, perhaps hoping that they could still get their children to go to church. Usually, they would start by politely saying in all candor, Father, I'm doing this to please my mother. But to be honest with you, I wish she would just give up trying to persuade me to return to the church. I've lost my faith already. That happens. And then, you know what I ask? Sabihin kong, what do you mean? And the typical answer would be, I've stopped going to church since several years ago already. I have no intention of going back, even if my mother keeps warning me that I might go to hell for it. I also don't intend to practice any other kind of religion. Let's just say, I have outgrown religion. She cannot scare me anymore with hellfire or the wrath of an Hindi naman ako magsisimba dahil tinatakot lang niya ako na mapunta ako ng impyerno. Malaki na ako. I have decided to just try to live a meaningful life, to do what I believe I should do as a human being who is trying to be good. And for my part, ganito yung sasabihin ko. Baka naman you mean you've lost your religion, not your faith. And the reaction would be, why? What's the difference anyway? And I would proceed to explain. Religion is probably something that was imposed on you, something you did not choose. And now you choose to get out of it because you don't find it meaningful anymore. Makes sense to me. Faith is something that cannot be imposed on anybody. It's a choice. you cannot call it faith if you did not choose it freely. Because faith is a gift. And a gift that's not accepted is not faith. It's the moment you accept that gift freely. As we understand it in Christian tradition, faith is the human response to God. How will you even respond if you did not perceive, first of all, that God was talking to you? Faith usually begins with an awakening to a personal God and to the idea that your life is a gift. Na hindi ka lang aksidente dito sa mundo, na merong pumili na ikaw ay isilang dito sa mundo. Imagine mo, sa dinami-dami ng pwedeng isilang sa mundo, ikaw pa. Can you imagine na yung thumb mark mo cannot be reproduced? There are no two human beings with the same thumb mark in this whole world. Not even twins. Can you imagine that? That's really mysterious, no? It means you're one of a kind. You're one of a kind. There is someone who willed your birth, someone who created the world, you and the rest of humankind and creation with a purpose. And you realize that you achieve that purpose somehow when you strive to grow into a dignified human being. When you learn to love, when you develop a sense of meaning in your life. Sabi ko, hindi ba yun ang hinahanap mo ngayon? Hindi kaya parang nawawala ng relihiyon mo dahil nagsisimula ka ng tuklasin ang pananampalataya mo. Is it possible that you're beginning to lose your religion precisely because you're beginning to discover your faith? You mentioned about trying to live a meaningful life, do what you believe you should do as a human being, or about just trying to be good. You know what? That is what faith is about. And when you call it Christian faith, it means you're trying to learn how to be a good human being following the path of Jesus Christ. Ang pagpapakatao ay hindi kailanman maihihiwalay sa pagpapakakristyano. Dahil ang pagpapakakristyano ay pagpapakatao ayon sa halimbawa ni Kristo. For Jesus Christ, that way of life is about living life on earth as it is in heaven. By learning to love unconditionally. Meaning it is not enough to care for those related to you or those who love you back. What matters is to learn to accept, to respect, to love, and to live with every fellow human being in this world unconditionally, no matter what their race, social status, or religion might be. Kaya nga tinatawag natin siyang Catholic faith. Ang ibig sabihin ng Catholic, inclusive, universal. It is founded on the belief that salvation or well-being is for everyone. It is not just for a few. Kaya kapag meron kang relihiyon na nagsasabing, kami lang maliligtas, sigurado na ako kagad that that's a false religion. I cannot for the life of me believe in the God who will save only a few. Our God is a God who wants to save the whole world. That's why I feel disappointed when Catholics are so afraid of God, when their concept of God is a fearful God. God who is always wagging his finger like Santa Claus coming to town. You better watch out. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. Oh. You know, we insult God when we look at him as like Santa Claus coming to town, wagging his finger like that, he knows if you've been bad or good. Meaning, he loves you only when you're good, and he hates you when you're bad. I have good news for you. That's not true. That's not true. You know, that's what's getting me into trouble in the Diocese of Caloocan. When I don't believe that there are people who are innately bad. Kasi ang sabi ni Bossing, addicts are not human. Criminals are bad people. They will rape your children. Para bang conditioning of the mind. So that when they're killed, you say, addict naman yan eh, criminal naman yan eh, drug suspect naman yan. Bad people. If you're a Christian, you should never believe that there are bad people. Yes, there are people who do bad things. Please make a distinction between bad deeds or bad action and bad people. You don't call anybody in this world as innately bad. Kaya please, even your children, wag niyo tuturo sa kanila yan, bad siya, mama, bad siya. No. Bad yung ginawa niya. Kasi ganyan din naman kayo, parents, di ba? Are your children capable of doing bad things? Let me hear it. Yes. If they do bad things, does that mean they're bad? No. You love them nevertheless. You don't like what they're doing when they're doing bad things, but you love them nevertheless. Kung minsan, you get angry precisely because you love them. Di ba? So saan galing yung idea that there are bad people? You insult God when you say there are bad people. God created all people good, innately good. But we live in different circumstances. Ang swerte-swerte naman ninyo kung sinilang kayo sa mabuting pamilya. If you were nurtured by loving parents, how blessed are you? If you were given good education in Ateneo, UP, or LaSalle, how blessed are you? Now you think just because you are blessed, everybody else is blessed the same way as you? Good heavens! May mga taong isinilang na nagpapalimos sa kalsada. May mga taong hindi isinilang sa mga magulang na mapagmahal. Some people, some children, were raised by abusive parents. And so if they grow up into criminals, should you be surprised? Ikaw man ang mabuhay dun sa buhay nila, baka maging kriminal ka rin. Do not judge and you will not be judged. You don't know where people are coming from. You don't know what people have been through. And yet, well, people who are rejected, people who are hated, people who are abused, people who have not experienced love, will feel depressed. And they will get sick. Perhaps not physically, but mentally, psychologically. And some of them, they get really sick. They get suicidal or homicidal. Some of them resort to all kinds of addictive substances. Some of them resort to alcohol. Some of them resort to gambling. Some of them resort to pornography. Maraming klaseng addiction. Substance abuse is just one of them. That doesn't make them bad people. You think we can correct our society by just eliminating people we consider bad? Well, if you do that, you are creating a criminal society. doon kami hindi maunawaan. Sometimes, dinudumog kami ng troll sa social media and they would say, why are you defending criminals? Why do you care about these people? Why do you not care about their victims as if we didn't? Hindi totoo yun. Our point is, they don't stop being human beings just because they get sick. And addiction is one form of sickness. Yun lang. Okay, let me now finish that speech to the psychiatrists. No? Ang sabi ko, from my experience, when I say things this way, I am able to generate some bit of interest in young people to listen. Something like, okay, now you're talking, or how come they never taught me that? And my usual answer is, maybe you are still too young for it. Or maybe you're beginning to outgrow religion precisely to discover your faith, as I mentioned already. And then, I usually explain to them that religion is a belief system or a structure that is meant precisely to nurture the faith. Unfortunately, sometimes, religion can also serve the opposite effect, such as when people pass on a belief system in its naive or immature form. Some people, for instance, can get stuck to the notion of a punishing God, a God who rewards only the good and punishes the evil as if there were evil people. All throughout history, people have always had an issue with the issue of the suffering of the innocent, for example. Why would such things happen if there is God, etc.? Let me just jump from here on. And proceed with the rest of learning to live the faith. Medyo mahaba kasi yung speech ko sa mga psychiatrists. I just cut it there. And then let me now finish the second part, no? I mentioned that faith is about responding to God. It is the human response to God who communicates with us. And you cannot even claim that you can respond if you have not been awakened first to the God who speaks to you. And I would further add, using the words of Pope Benedict, ang sabi ni Pope Benedict, faith is the human response of love to the God who loved us first. Let me ask you, do you love God? You do? Does God love you? Ay, salamat, mas malakas yon. Because I wouldn't even believe that you love God if you have not first of all been awakened that God loves you. Because your love for God is really just a response to the God who loved you first. That's how faith is understood. Kaya ang dami palang taong may relihiyon, baka wala pang faith because they have not yet been awakened how much they are loved by God. Especially those who are always afraid of a punishing God. That's why I love to quote John 3:16 to people who are so afraid of God. For God so loved the world, He gave us His only Son, so that all who believe might not perish, but might have eternal life. God did not send His Son to the world to condemn the world. Tell me, what did God send His Son for? To save. To save. So we do not have a condemning God. What we have is a saving God. That is why the name given to the Son of God is Jesus. The word Jesus, you know what it means in Hebrew? Yeshua. God saves. a saving God. God is a God of salvation. It is not the business of God to condemn. It is the business of God to save. And God is not like just seated in heaven watching us and saying, if you go away, the hell I care about you. Because if we stray, God looks for us. That's the beautiful parable of the lost sheep. Because when you suffer, God suffers too. It is Jesus who opened our awareness to the suffering God, to the God who is involved with our lives, the God who is willing to go to hell for you. To live the faith, sabi ni St. Paul, is to say, Christ lives in me. Let me repeat that. To live the faith is to say with Paul, Christ lives in me. To live the Christian faith. St. Paul says, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and has given up his life for me. That is what it means to live the faith for St. Paul. And living that faith is associated with a symbol, and that symbol is the cross. The cross of Jesus Christ. Do not remove Jesus Christ from the cross. Because the cross without Christ is just a means of torture. It's a morbid symbol. It represents nothing but suffering and death. Christianity is not a morbid faith. I have friends who ask me, why are you Catholics always talking about suffering and death? And why do you put the dead Christ on the cross? He is risen. Typical things that I get from some of my non-Catholic friends. And my answer to that is simple. I would say, whoever told you that the cross for us Catholics is a symbol of suffering and death? It is not. The cross for us is a symbol of love, unconditional love, God's unconditional love for humankind in Jesus Christ. It is a love that is not afraid to suffer and die. That's what the cross is about. It's a liberating love. Kaya, living the faith, that is what witnessing is about. To live the faith. Not dying for the faith. Even if dying may be part of the living of the faith. You know the word for witnessing? Martyria. It's the origin of the word martyrdom. Martyrdom. And some people associate martyrdom with dying for the faith. But people forget that martyrdom is not about dying. It's about living. Consistently living out the faith. Ang magpatotoo sa iyong sinasampalatayanan. Ang magbigay patotoo. Na handang mamatay o magdusa kung kailangan. There was a sister who texted me and who seemed seriously concerned about me since the past few days. Ganito sinabi niya sa akin, Bishop, bakit mo siya sinasagot? Hindi ba pwede tumahimik ka na lang? Just ignore him, whatever he says. Malalagay ka pa sa panganib sa ginagawa mong yan. Can you just keep quiet? You know what I said to the sister? Ang sabi ko, sister, with all due respect, I'm sorry to say you are wrong. You tell me, just ignore? Tinawag akong magnanakaw ng prutas. I'll just ignore that. Kaya I had to say, my parents never taught me to steal. That's just my plain answer. He may have mistaken me for someone else. My parents never taught me to steal. I wouldn't do that. I was raised with good values. And then, tinawag akong drug dealer. And I'll just keep quiet. Ang sabi ko, I don't even use maintenance drugs. Good heavens. All I take is vitamins with fruit shake blended with malunggay. And it's very good for the health. And I was accused of walking around the cathedral, which is true. I walk around at night because I pray the rosary at night. That's already my exercise as well. In my kind of routine, halos wala na ako exercise. And so, in the evening, one of my little consolations is to be able to walk around the cathedral praying my rosary. So, umiikot-ikot ka. You must be into drugs. Makitaan lang kita ng 1 gramo ng shabu, pupugutan kita ng ulo. Sounds like someone I know, no? In the Bible, no? Pugutan kita ng ulo. Yeah. Joke lang. Yeah. I realized, somebody called my attention. Bishop, di ba pag naglalakad kayo, minsan sinusundan kayo ng street children? When I walk around the cathedral, the street children suddenly show up. And they say, Bishop, pagkain po dyan. Bishop. Sabi ko, nagdadasal pa ako pagkatapos ng rosary. One time, a group of kids, ang liliit, lumapit sa akin, sabi niyang, Bishop. Sabi ko, pagkatapos ng rosaryo ko, sabi na, Bishop, pwede ba kami sumamang mag-rosary sa'yo? I was surprised. Sabi ko, marunong kayo? And sabi niya, di po ba si Sister Minerva? Si Sister Minerva, the ICM sister who volunteered to look after the street children of Caloocan, would feed them and catechize them as well and teach them to pray. And I remember one night, I was really in tears walking, saying, Aba, Ginong Maria, napupuno ko ng grasya. And then they would all answer in unison, Santa Maria, ang ina ng Diyos, panalangin mo kami makasalanan. Ngayon kami, ang lakas-lakas pa ng boses nila. And after that, I'd go to the kitchen and look for some food. And then, paglabas ko, if I am under surveillance, and remember, children are used as drug runners. The intelligence people are not very intelligent. Bishop Ambo is asking children to deliver drugs. Now I realize where they're coming from. My God, I never thought I was being watched. Para ko big brother. Bahay ni Kuya, Oh, I see. Okay. Sige ho. Now I admit to you, umiikot-ikot ho ako. Yeah. But I'm not into drugs. I am into rehabilitating drug addicts. Because I will never accept your line that they're no longer human just because they got ill. And no civilized society will possibly agree with you there. please do not condition our minds into accepting that they don't deserve to live anymore. This is not about politics, sir. I have accepted that you are a democratically elected president. I respect your tenure. But please respect our laws. And it's not asking too much. I am a shepherd. And it's my work to protect my flock, especially the most helpless and vulnerable ones among them. If I have to defend them with my life, I will do that. So what? That's what I'm a shepherd for. I'd be a useless shepherd if I'll just sit in my comfort zone. Like the sister was suggesting to me, not to react, just ignore. Be comfortable in your convento. Don't even have anything to do with those 3 children. Why would you bother about those drug addicts? Why wouldn't I? I have to be so heartless as a shepherd, not to pay attention to widows and orphans. I have to be so heartless, not to even respond when the neighbors say, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." I saw how they killed my neighbor. I saw with my eyes. I wish I had not seen. I could not sleep. I saw the police report that he fought back, nanlaban. Hindi po totoo. And if I say, "My child, it's your obligation in conscience to testify," what will I say if she weeps and she says, "We're just poor people"? What will happen to my family? Who will protect us? It's not all very dark, people. I have good news for you. We won the case of Kian de los Santos. Did you hear about that? We protected the witnesses. And we didn't think that the case would prosper. It's one little victory. Thanks be to God. Now, hopefully, the other families could be encouraged. We have another case being handled by the Jesuits in the mission station of Kaunlaran. I have the Jesuits now who volunteered to run a mission station in my diocese. And they helped me find a lawyer to be able to defend a father who had been forced to drink water with shabu when they were arrested in order to test positive. And he had a seizure and died. Luckily, I have a good doctor, Dr. Raquel Fortun, who did a good medical report on what exactly was done to that man, that he was murdered, that he was forced to ingest water with shabu. People on their own, they'd be so intimidated to even bother. When people are made to feel like they're worthless human beings, that their human rights don't matter, then it means we have not proclaimed the good news to them. And I hate to admit that we have not really effectively proclaimed the good news to the poor. That's why we're opening mission stations instead of parishes. Because I know how quickly parishes can become parochial in the negative sense. I want to reorient parishes to communities. Pay attention to the unjudged. How can people live the faith if the faith is not even being proclaimed to them? Kanina, I wanted I wanted to recall to you the poem by Khalil Gibran on children. But let me just read through it. Actually, this was supposed to be part of the first part, accompanying children to embrace their youthfulness. Can we read that together? Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children are living arrows, as living arrows are set forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. How beautiful. No? Galing yan kay Khalil Gibran. Beautifully summarizes the first 2 points that I've given you. Let me now end with the last point. Accompanying young people to remain faithful to Christ. Remain faithful. Remain faithful to Christ means remain in the love of Christ. Because Christianity is about falling in love. It is easy to fall in love, but it is not easy to remain in love. Love is tested, especially during difficult times. It is then that it grows into commitment. One of the signs of the maturity in young people is when they learn fidelity or faithfulness. I remember one time I was watching a TV show. A young actor was being interviewed by a host. And the host said, "How is it with your love life?" And the young actor said, "Tita, loveless ako ngayon. And I would rather stay that way, loveless, no commitment. I'd rather be free." I remember listening to that actor and feeling sorry for him. I said to myself, my God, he does not know what love is about. And he says, "I'd rather be free." And I said, my God, he does not know what freedom is about. In Tagalog, the word for freedom is kalayaan. And it is very close to kalayawan. Kalayawan comes from the root word layaw. Yung ibang tao, ang tingin nila sa kalayaan, layaw. Gagawin ko ang gusto kong gawin, kailan ko gustong gawin, saan ko man gustong gawin. Hindi kalayaan yan. Layaw, malayaw. Kawawa ang bata na malayaw. Laki sa layaw, Jeprox. Hindi niya matutuklasan ng tunay na kahulugan ng laya. Ang kalayaan at kalayawan, hindi pareho. Ang taong tunay na malaya ay hindi takot sa pananagutan. A person who is truly loving does not give up easily. People who learn to love are motivated no longer by feelings but by the will. By the will. I think I've said this to you on another occasion. When I was a formator in the seminary, one day, nag-morning prayers kami, and there was only a handful of seminarians, mga 1/2 of the whole community. Tapos I asked them, how come the others are not here? So I called their attention. And sabi ko, brothers, we missed you at the morning prayers. And one of them, who sounded like the spokesman, approached me and said, Father, it's simple. I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like it because I was sleepy. I didn't feel like praying. Oh, I said, so you will only pray when you feel like it. Sabi ko, listen to me, listen. Do you think that your mother, when you were a little baby, whenever she had to wake up late at night because your diaper was wet, even in the middle of her sleep, she's resting already, but she would have to wake up because you're crying. Your mother will not say, I don't feel like it. Even if she's tired, even if she's not feeling well, she would wake up in order to change your diaper. Whether she feels like it or she doesn't feel like it. You know what they call that? An act of the will. Kaya kawawa yung mga taong motivated only by feeling. I feel like it. I feel like it. Commitment is no longer just on feelings level. Sometimes, it gets really difficult. In fact, you're tempted to give up, but you won't because you love. Jesus said, I am the vine, you are the branches, remain in me. Just as I remain in you, for apart from me, you can do nothing. Nowadays, people, we live in a culture of instants and disposables. You want to make coffee, just a little powder in hot water, stir it, and you already have instant coffee. You want juice, just a little bit of powder, put it in water, stir it, and you have instant juice. But if you are a real coffee drinker, you would know the difference between real coffee and pseudo coffee. Instant coffee, 3-in-1. Okay, pwede na, pag nagmamadali. But you know the difference. If you want quality, you wait. Ganyan din sa orange juice. You want a good tasting orange juice, Orange juice doesn't come from a pack. It comes from a fruit. And you know the difference when it's squeezed straight from the fruit, di ba? Well, the culture of instants can condition our minds into instant relationships. When people don't know how to wait and respect process. Even worse is the culture of disposables. Very wasteful. A throwaway society. Isang gamitan lang, tapon na. Well, things can be disposable, not people. We use money and love people. It's not we love money and use people. And that is why, a while ago, I was pointing out to you, my simple message to the government is this. No, sir. People are not disposable items. They are creatures in the image and likeness of God. Yes, sir, including addicts and criminals. Yes, use the full extent of the law to prevent crimes. Arrest them. Hold them accountable for their action. But please, I beg of you, don't dispose of them. I cannot rehabilitate dead people. And you have no right to call them non-humans. Please do not say they cannot be reformed. A lot of saints and reformed criminals were reformed criminals and sinners before. Have you never heard the saying, every saint has a past, every sinner has a future? Please know where they're coming from, why they do what they do. Like I said, we all live in different circumstances. If you don't know where people are coming from, you have no right to judge them. I want to end with Kian de los Santos. I already announced to you the victory, the little victory of the conviction that we were able to achieve. Take note, we did not ask for a death penalty for those policemen. We're not closing the door to the possibility that they can get converted or reformed. But they have to be accountable for their action. Kian de los Santos was murdered on the feast day of our beloved patron saint of the Diocese of Caloocan, San Roque. I was telling my siblings as I was having dinner with them that San Roque lived during the medieval times when people did not yet know how to deal with plagues and epidemics. One day, passing through a town as a pilgrim, San Roque decided to stay when he learned that people were fleeing or leaving behind their infected family members. He was also stunned to hear that some of the victims were being burned alive by governors and princes who were afraid that the infection might spread. The young pilgrim San Roque responded with mercy and compassion. He attended to the sick, and in doing so, eventually got infected himself. And then when he got infected by the disease, he withdrew into the desert, into the forest. And while he was in the forest, he found a dog. He befriended that dog. That dog looked after him and nursed him back to health. If you are my friends on Facebook, you'd probably know already that the video of my dog went viral. I have a dog, a Chihuahua. His name is Pochi. I call him my bodyguard. Pochi, like the candy. Pochi. He's low maintenance. He does not eat very much. He does not mess around very much. But when I come home, he's very excited, waits to be cuddled, and would not sleep until I put him or tuck him in his little bed. And I said, imagine what dogs can do to us. Imagine what the dog did to San Roque. It was just a dog. The dog nursed San Roque back to life. He happened to be a trained dog of a farmer nearby. The farmer did not mind that his dog had befriended a stranger. And one day he followed his dog and found out why his dog was stealing food. And that the dog was bringing the food to San Roque. You know, I feel scandalized that sometimes dogs can be more humane than human beings to fellow human beings. I showed this video to other people, but I don't think all of you have seen it already. I'd like to show you how people in my diocese have gotten used to the death squads killing people left and right, even in broad daylight. Let me just switch. Can you see it? These are the killers. They're going to kill a tricycle driver. They stop the traffic very casually. This is at 5:30 in the afternoon, broad daylight. That man is going to shoot a tricycle driver. There is a little girl. And people are watching. People are watching. He goes away casually. There is a follow-up, backup. He had shot several bullets into the head of the tricycle driver, but he's not done yet. He had to make sure patay talaga. And now there he is. He's going back to his motorcycle. His companion is waiting for him. There. Now they go, and they signal to the motorists that they can go now. And they all go. Dadaanan nila yung patay. Ayun. They all go. That was shocking for me. And that's 8 o'clock in the evening, he's still there. Nobody even bothered to cover his cadaver with newspaper or a blanket. What's happened to us? I say, my God, I'll feel like a miserable failure if my people begin to behave like this. This is the parable of the not so good Samaritan. The people who have passed by are by the hundreds already. They looked at the victim and they probably whispered to each other, drug suspect na naman. You get used to it. And when you get used to it, your conscience dies. If I worry about the death of people who are killed, I worry even more about the death of conscience. But I want to end with the humaneness of a dog. That's my little dog, Pochi. Let's repeat it. He loves ice drop. Buko salad. Oh, with mung beans. And this dog is very welcoming. He's hardly 1 year old, no? And I wanted to show this to you, to just inspire you with the dog of San Roque. Because San Roque, that's our patron. And he's known for that dog. He was taken care of by that dog. I told you that San Roque lived in a time of epidemics. The modern epidemic that we're facing now is drug addiction. And the easy way out for some people is extermination. And San Roque stood his ground and said, you don't dispose of human beings. We can do something about them. Yes, we fight illegal drugs, but let us save the victims. The people with substance use disorder are sick people. If dogs can be humane to people, how much more should people, created in God's image and likeness, be humane to one another? So I'd like my dog Pochi to challenge you. He's my bodyguard, by the way. He can detect the presence of a stranger from far away and would make noise until I've given him the assurance that I'm okay. He's very fierce. I said, I'm okay. And when I say I'm okay, he calms down. And aside from Pochi, I have the angel Michael, Archangel Michael, as my bodyguard. But I'd like to ask you one thing this evening. Because I do feel shielded when people join me in prayer. Can I count on your prayers? Salamat, salamat. Because the spiritual solidarity will keep us together. There is no reason why we should be afraid when it is our faith we stand for. When it is God we stand for. And when we fight for what is most noble about our humanity. Amen? Please stand. The Lord be with you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord let his face shine on you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look at 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 you.